In lesson 8.4, angle relationships, we're going to talk about our standard 7.G.5 facts about supplementary, complementary, vertical, and adjacent angles, and a multi-step problem, and we're also going to learn how to solve simple equations for an unknown angle in here. Our essential question for this is, how can you use angle relationships to solve problems? In the first activity, we're going to talk about measuring angles, using the protractor, and we're going to do the activity in class. But just to talk about a few little things here. One is the definition here of congruent angles, and that means they have the same measure. Okay, so we're going to look for angles that have the same. So if you have an angle that is 30 degrees, a congruent angle would also have 30 degrees. So here in the step, they want you to draw a pair of intersecting lines. So you could go ahead and just draw, anything that you want like that. That's a pair of intersecting lines. And then you're going to take the protractor and you're going to go ahead and take measurements on how to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my intersecting lines and I'm going to put them on top of the protractor so that I can show you how to read the protractor. The ones that we use in class are just like this one, so that should help you. So to use the protractor, if you look right here, you'll see that this is kind of like an open circle, and on ours in class we have that. So your intersecting lines, whatever you drew, okay, so I want to imagine that my intersecting lines I kind of have going along, and you notice what I'm doing is I've placed the dot over top of the intersecting line that I have. So then my other intersecting line, let's say that is going this way. So now what you do is that if you want to read the angle on this side, this is our angle symbol we talked about, I start over here. This is at 0 degrees right here at that point, so 0 degrees. And this goes up, and you can kind of barely see the numbers. It's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So this angle right here is at 70 degrees. What I did was I read the outside scale going up, and if you would continue to go all the way down over here, and this one would be 180 degrees at this point. Now if you want to get this angle here, what you would do is you would read the inside scale. So again, I'm starting here at this point, that would be 0 degrees, and I read this way, and it's 10. So here's 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110 degrees. I have 70 degrees going this way, and I have 110 going this way. Now if you look, 70 degrees plus 110 degrees equals 180 degrees. And that represents a straight line. That's how we use a protractor to help us be able to read our angles. So going back up here in the example, you drew a set of intersecting lines. In the class, you're going to go ahead and take your protractor. You're going to position this protractor so that it would actually end up being like maybe going this way, okay? You're going to turn it, and because you got to line up this here to one of those lines, and then you read your angles. And then you would just label them. We'll call this angle 1, angle 2, 3, and 4. And then you're going to put those measurements over here. You then go ahead, and then what this says is that this says, what is the measurement? So little m is for measurement. This symbol represents angle. So what this is telling you is, what is the measurement of angle number 1? So you'd come up here, you get that measurement from your protractor, and you'd write it down. I don't know, I want to put in here, let's say it's about 120 degrees. And then you go and you get measurement 2. Okay, so if this is 120 degrees, this is probably going to be 60. Okay, and then you do the same thing. Measurement 3 is going to be 120 degrees. And again, this is my example. Yours could be different. And measurement of angle 4 would be 60 degrees. So now, in part of our definitions that are coming up on the next page, one of the things that we're going to talk about is a vertical angle. So then down here, what we do is we take the measurement of angle 1 plus the measurement of angle 2, so that's 120 degrees plus 60 degrees, and that equals 180 degrees. And then you go ahead and you do the same for the rest of these. Some additional definitions that we have to work with here are vertical angles. They are opposite angles formed by two intersecting lines. So in the previous activity, we had created two intersecting lines, and I labeled that angle 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is angle 1 and angle 3. They're opposite of each other, okay? And they have the same measure. So if this angle here was, let's say that it's 80 degrees, this one has to be 80 degrees. Do not think of vertical as only going in the vertical position, because it also includes at any place. It's the definition that's important and not the physical placement. Adjacent angles are pairs of angles that have a shared vertex and one side but do not overlap. So this point right here, that is our vertex where two lines come together. So following the definition, a pair of angles that have a shared vertex and one side but do not overlap. So like angles 1 and 2, they share this one side right here. So angles 1 and 2 are an adjacent angle. You can also look to see what else you have. Complementary angles are two angles that have a sum of 90 degrees. So this is 80. Obviously this is greater, so that these two are not going to be complementary. Supplementary angles are two angles who have measures of a sum of 180 degrees. So in this case, angle 1 and angle 2, this is going to be a 100-degree angle because this is a straight line. Remember, a straight line is 180 degrees. So 80 plus 100 is 180 degrees. These two are supplementary angles. So here in example 1, they give you this setup down here, and they want you to go through and identify the vertical, adjacent, complementary, and supplementary. So here we continue on working with the previous activity where we're looking at angle AFB and angle BFD, which are supplementary angles, and then they want us to find what AFB is. So what we remember is a straight line is 180 degrees. So we're going to set up an equation where we have the measurement of angle AFB plus the measurement of angle BFD equals 180. We look at the picture that's given. We know that this is X, and we know that this is 140 degrees. So some number plus 140 degrees has to equal 180 degrees. So they're using the one-step equation to help us figure that out. So we need to isolate X by itself, which they've done here. And to do that, we have an addition, so we do the opposite. We subtract 140. We take 180 minus 140, and then X is going to equal 40 degrees, and that would be our answer. So here in the your turn, they're asking you to go ahead and looking at this diagram to identify supplementary angles, vertical angles, adjacents, complementary, and then look for that measure of angle CGD. So CGD, so looking for that angle to see if you can figure it out. Okay, so use your definitions, use the previous steps to help you out. Remember, a straight line is 180 degrees. That's a little hint in helping you figure out the rest of this. Continuing on with example 2, they ask us to go ahead and find the measure of angle EHF. Okay, so what we know that we have 48 degrees, and they're telling us that this is 2x. And if you remember, a straight line is 180 degrees. So we write our equation, 2x plus 48 degrees equals 180 degrees. Okay? Because 2x, this angle, and this angle, which are supplementary angles, those two have to equal 180 degrees to get that straight line. Now we're just at two-step equations. So now we're at two-step equations. They have 2x plus 48 equals 180 degrees. We have to isolate for x. So the first step, we got to get rid of our additions. So we subtract 48. So we have 2x equals 132. And then we have to divide by 2. And so we divide this by 2. And then 132 divided by 2 is 66. So x is 66. Now be careful though. the actual angle is 132. All you did was find x. So pay attention to what the question is asking you. Are they asking you to find x, or are they asking you to find the angle? Because 66, if they ask you find the measure of angle EHF, means that they're looking for the angle. If you answered 66, the answer would be incorrect. But you do need that to get that answer there. So this is the correct answer. Continuing on, they have another example where we're using just a right angle. Okay, so we have two angles. So angle WXZ and angle ZXY. Those two are complementary, okay, because they equal 90 degrees, because that's a right angle. Also notice that you have your symbol down here for a right angle. So remember that a right angle is 90 degrees. Okay, so when you write up your equation, you're going to have the measurement of angle WXZ plus the measurement of angle ZXY equals 90. So we have, and they actually have this backwards because this is this one, and then the 35 is this one here. Okay, but it doesn't matter. We can use the associative property. Okay, so 4x plus 7 plus 35 equals 90. So we can combine these two because they are like terms. So like terms coming back to us again. 7 plus 35 is 42. So we now have 4x plus 42 equals 90. We go through our two-step equation process and figuring it out, and we find out that x equals 12. Okay, now that's what x is. It's not what the angle is. So we substitute that back in place here. 4 times 12, 48, plus 7 gives us 55. So the measure, the angle of ZXY is 55 degrees. On the your turn, I'll help get you started. We know we have a straight line, so we have to equal 180 degrees. So we have to equal 180 degrees. We have one angle of 3x, and then when we add that with this angle of 54 degrees, okay, so now we have a two-step equation. You go ahead and solve and find out what x is. Okay, so find out what x is, but also find out what the measure of, so the measure of angle JML. Down here in guided practice, we're working on the vocabulary again, working on the angles. Here they have this diagram for you to go ahead and use to try to figure out number 4. What is the measure of angle CGD plus the measure of angle DGE plus the measure of angle EGF? And all of that has to equal 180 degrees because we are looking at CGD, we are looking at angle DGE, and then angle EGF. So we're looking at all of this down here. So I can tell you this angle is missing, so you're going to have to look, maybe use the definition of vertical angle to find out what this is, and then you can take those 3 measurements, put them together, and then solve them to find out what your angle is going to be, or what x is going to be, and what is that resulting angle. If you got any questions in class, let me know and I'll help you out. Have a good day. Bye.